Yesterday we discussed the narration from Sayyidina Safwan ibn Asal radiyallahu ta'ala regarding the two Jews who came and asked the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam regarding the clear signs. We heard that he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam gave them an answer upon which they kissed the blessed hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and they kissed the blessed feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And they said, Nashhadu annaka nabiyyun, we testify that you are a prophet. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, فَمَا يَمْنَعُكُمْ أَن تَتَّبِعُونِي, then what is hindering you from following me, yani submitting to the religion of Islam? And we talked about the fact that it's not enough for someone to know with certainty that Islam is the true religion, and to testify that it is the true religion, to testify that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is the final messenger. That is not enough. One has to submit to it in the heart. There has to be tasdeeq bil lisan, iqrar bil lisan, and tasdeeq bil qalb. The heart has to submit to that belief. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's statement that what is hindering you from submitting me? So they replied, Qala, they both said, Inna Dawood alayhi salam. They said, indeed Sayyiduna Dawood alayhi salam da'a rabbahu, made dua to his Rabb. And Allah yazala min dhurriyatihi nabiyyun, that prophets continue to come from his descendants. Wa inna nakhaf, and we fear, inna nakhafu in tabi'naka, if we were to follow you and submit to the religion of Islam, and taqtulana al-yahudu, that the Yahud will kill us, they will murder us. Rawahu Tirmidhi wa Abu Dawud wa Nasa'i. There are two reasons that they both gave for not accepting and submitting to Islam. And the first reason that they have mentioned is the dua of Sayyiduna Dawood alayhi salam. That Sayyiduna Dawood alayhi salam made dua to Allah that the prophets continue in his descendants. And this goes back to the fact that the Jews who knew that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the final messenger and they were absolute certain about it, some of them or many of them did not accept simply because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not from the Bani Israel. See, Sayyiduna Ibrahim alayhi salam had two sons. One of them is Sayyiduna Ishaq alayhi salam and the other is Sayyiduna Ismail alayhi salam. All the Anbiya Kiram that have come in the past, the Bani Israel, all of them came from Sayyiduna Ishaq alayhi salam's lineage. They are all descendants of Sayyiduna Ishaq alayhi salam. And the Bani Israel, they wanted the Prophet, the final Prophet, the Khatamun Nubuwa, who was praised in all the previous books. They wanted him to be from the same lineage. But Allah had Sayyiduna Ismail alayhi salam's lineage for Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And due to this jealousy of the Jews, the Yahud, they refused to accept the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So here they've made a statement here that the reason why we testify that you are the Prophet and we accept, we know that, but we won't submit to the religion of Islam because Dawood alayhi salam made dua to his Rabb that all prophets will come from his dhurriya, yani from Sayyiduna Ishaq alayhi salam's lineage. In other words, they indirectly were saying that because you're from Sayyiduna Ismail alayhi salam's lineage, that's why we won't accept. That's what he's saying. And the ulama kiram have made it absolutely clear that Sayyiduna Dawood alayhi salam did not make that dua. Sayyiduna Dawood alayhi salam, this is a fabrication against Sayyiduna Dawood alayhi salam. It says, Hada iftira. This is what they've done. This is an iftira. It's a false accusation. He knew that the final prophet was going to be from Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam's lineage. And that was the dua of Rasulullah, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam came into this world when he was born, and when he talked about himself and he talked about his birth, with the Sahaba Kiram, yani a Mahfil Milad with the Sahaba Kiram. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was talking about his birth, and he said, "Ki ana du'a'u abikum Ibrahim." I am the dua of your father Ibrahim. Because Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he made dua that Allah send a messenger here to the people of Makkah, where Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam was, yani from the dhurriya of Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam. So all those Anbiya Kiram came from Sayyidina Ishaq alayhi salam's lineage, and Sayyidina Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam came from the lineage of Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam. And this the Jews could not bear. They couldn't bear this. Even in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even those who know the truth today, they won't accept it simply because why did Allah send him from amongst the Bani Israel? In fact, there are Jews who made statements like, we have now broken our ties with Jibreel alayhi salam. We have broken our ties with Mikail alayhi salam. Because why did they bring the message of Allah, the final message of Allah, to someone from the Arab world, from amongst the Quraysh, and not to the Bani Israel? And that's why Allah sent down the verses, قُلْ مَنْ كَانَ عَدُوًّا لِجِبْرِيلٍ, in Surah Baqarah, that whosoever says that they have become an enemy of Jibreel or Mikail or any of the Malaika, then they have become an enemy of mine, yani Allah. Yani Allah is their enemy. So Allah has made it clear in the Quran in several places that Allah is the enemy of the Jews. Yani the Jews are fighting against Allah. Anyhow, this hadith is mentioned in Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud and Nasai. In here, it also says that we fear, one of the reasons why we're not submitting to Islam is that we fear that if we follow you, the Jews will kill us. And that also shows to us that the threat that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the followers of Islam were facing, even after they had left Makkah Mukarramah and migrated to Medina, they were still not safe. Even in Medina Munawwara, the threat was there. And it was the Jews. And the Jews, they even tried to poison the Prophet Muhammad. In fact, they did poison the Prophet ﷺ in Khaybar. So Rasulullah ﷺ was invited by the Jews in their community, and they had plotted to, ma'azallah, kill the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. During that invitation, it was through the Jibreel alayhi salam that came and informed the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ about their plot. And after several times Rasulullah ﷺ made treaty after treaty with the Jews of Medina Munawwara, they failed all the time, and they still continued to plot to kill the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Then Rasulullah ﷺ had them banished from Medina Munawwara. They went to Khaybar in the north. And then Rasulullah ﷺ had to leave Medina, go out of Medina, and go and fight in the Battle of Khaybar, and fight against these Jews. After again the Prophet ﷺ beat the Jews there in Khaybar, then Rasulullah ﷺ abandoned certain ones from Khaybar, certain Jews from Khaybar, yet they still made agreements. The Prophet ﷺ accepted agreements, and they had to pay a certain amount of their profits from their growth and produce and their income to the Muslim government, but then they still tried to assassinate the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. They invited Rasulullah ﷺ to a feast, and there he ﷺ was poisoned. And did he ﷺ know or did he not know of the poison? You know, these questions come up because we believe in the knowledge of the unseen for Rasulullah ﷺ. So one thing we should always make clear is that the belief of the Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, those who follow the Sufi madhab, the madhab of Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza, the Maslik of Imam Ahmad Raza, is that our belief is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has kul ilm ghaib. Kul ilm ghaib means he knows everything from the beginning of creation until the people of Jahannam enter Jahannam and the people like us enter Jannah. People of Jannah enter Jannah, inshallah. He knows everything. We believe this from the time when the whole Quran was revealed. Yani after the whole Quran was revealed, from that time we believe Kul ilm ghaib for Rasulullah. So if anybody wants to prove that Aqidah wrong, they have to show evidence of after the whole Quran was revealed, not whilst the Quran was still being revealed, during the life of Rasulullah. when Allah sent down the verse Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum, today I have completed your religion for you, from that time, if anyone can show anything that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not know. So showing these type of incidents where he sallallahu alaihi wasallam ate the meat which was poisoned, firstly it doesn't prove that he didn't know, but let's assume that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't know. Does that affect our aqidah that he had qul ilm al-ghaib? No, it doesn't, because our belief is after the whole Quran was revealed. So this piece of evidence, it cannot be used as a piece of evidence to rebut or to refute our aqidah. That's the first thing. Secondly, there are certain things that Allah may have kept hidden from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through his wisdom, and this may be one of them. Or it may be that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew, but destiny had to do its work. Anyhow, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam ate from that meat, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the harm of that meat. Although it may have caused a bit of harm, but the harm of that meat, which was to ma'adallah kill the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, didn't happen. The ulama kiram do say that at the end of the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was that poison that returned, and he passed away through that poison. Because Allah did not want to keep the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam deprived of the reward of dying from that poison. Just like Sayyiduna Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala, the snake bit Sayyiduna Abu Bakr Siddiq, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's blessed saliva stopped the harm of that poison, and he did not die at that time. He lived on, and he sacrificed his life a few more times for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had many lives, and after, when he did pass away, it was that poison that returned, the poison from the cave. And that's why there are hadith you will hear where Sayyidah Aisha asked the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, is there anybody that has rewards equivalent to the amount of stars? The hadith, you've heard that. And then he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that it's Sayyidina Umar, and she became upset that she thought it would be her father. So when she asked him, what about my father? He said that one deed of his in the cave is more beyond all of the deeds of Umar. So that one deed, which was that one deed? It was that bite of that snake. Allah saved him through the wasila of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saved him from dying, but did not deprive him from the reward of dying through that poison. So when he did pass away at the end of his life, it was that poison that returned, and then Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq passed away through that. So that no one can say that Abu Bakr died in his bed, or Abu Bakr died in this manner or in that manner. Abu Bakr died as a muhib, sacrificed his life on his mahbub. That is how he died. He died sacrificing his life for his mahbub Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He lived for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he died for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Khair. So we've come to the end of the hadith, but these Jews, these Jews did not accept Iman. They feared that they would be killed by the Jews if they had accepted Iman. And that's the end of the narration. Whether they did later on or not, Allahu a'lam bis-sawab. The next hadith is narrated from Sayyiduna Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu ta'ala an qala Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. And there's only four narrations left in this chapter now. And then we'll move on to the chapter of waswasa, whispers of the shaitan, if we still have time in the month of Ramadan. With this hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Thalathun min aslil iman." There are three things that are from the roots of Iman, the foundations of Iman, asl of Iman. What are these foundations of Iman? He said, al-kaffu. Al-kaff means to hold back, to stop. Al-kaffu amman qala la ilaha illallah la tukaffirhu bidhanbin wa la tukhrijhu min al-islami bi'amalin. He said to hold back your tongue from calling an individual a kafir due to a sin that he has committed or removing him from Islam due to an action that he has committed after he has said La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So once an individual has said La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, he has become a Muslim, and you cannot call him a kafir due to a sin that he has committed. And like that, you cannot write him off from the religion of Islam and say that he has left Islam due to an action that he has committed. This is the first mention Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has done in the asl of Iman. This is the foundation of Iman. And let me just explain, how is that a foundation of Iman? To hold back your tongue from calling someone who has accepted Islam a kafir. How is that foundation of Islam? To make sure you don't. The reason why is Islam simply means to believe that which is Iman as Iman, and to believe that which is kufr as kufr. To accept kufr as kufr and to accept Iman as Iman, that's what Islam is. That's what makes you a Muslim. Yani it is absolutely essential, it is fundamental for you to accept that this is kufr and this is Iman. That's what makes you a believer. Now if you label anything within Iman as kufr, that is kufr itself, because you've taken something that is Iman out of the category of Iman and placed it in kufr, and that takes away your Iman. Once a person says La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, they have entered Islam. They are Iman. And for you to call them a kafir is to refer to Iman as kufr. And that's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when one believer calls another a kafir, one of them is a kafir. This is a narration of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When one Muslim calls another a kafir, one of them is a kafir. Yani apparently they are two Muslims. One has called another a kafir, one of them is now a kafir. That's what Rasulullah said. Yani either he is true in what he said, the one he called, he is a kafir because he's done something of kufr. And if he is wrong in it, then that has returned to him and he has become a kafir for calling a Muslim a kafir. And it's the other way around as well. If you call a kafir a Muslim, that is also kufr. If someone says that we can't call Donald Trump a kafir, we don't know what's in his heart, he might be a believer, so I don't call him a kafir, then that is also kufr, because you have to accept that which is apparently kufr as kufr. And you have to accept that which is apparently mu'min, Islam, Iman as Islam. That's what our faith is. So here the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has forbidden us from calling a person who has accepted Islam due to a sin that they've committed or an action that they've done. Do not call that person a kafir. That is from the fundamentals of Iman, which simply means that if you reject it, you become a kafir. And therefore, you must be very careful before you call someone a kafir. However, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam here has not mentioned that due to a belief that they have changed. Of course, if someone has changed their belief and they have, ma'azallah, disrespected Allah, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or believed in another God with Allah, then of course we will call that person a kafir. And inshallah tomorrow we will talk about certain actions that are also acts of kufr, because of which the scholars have said that the person will be classed as a kafir. There are certain actions, like if you do sijda in front of Hanuman, an idol, or something like that. Sadaqa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jazakumullah. Ya Allah Rahman.